fear the night. Embrace it.
Hello there everybody, you're the audience. My name is SuperSonicBlur and welcome to the next God Guide kit explanation and build. Today we're looking at Nox, and yeah, Nox. Since her inception, I fell in love with her. She was a great goddess and I really enjoyed her playstyle. Then she was changed, which fair enough happens, and they redesigned her kit. And in changing it, she went from being a niche pick that only really Pretty Prime played to a niche pick that Pretty Prime will play, but does have some general viability. We've seen others pull it out as well, and is fantastically fun. From a control point of view, she does amazingly good potential there, and from a damage point of view, she can do that. She fundamentally can turn a team fight around, and it's not like Scylla where it's in the ultimate. It can be in the ultimate, but it doesn't have to be. Absolutely love her. Very, very fun. Very, very strong mid and late game, and early can be okay if you're able to hit stuff, which kind of goes the same for every god, but more so for this goddess. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, let's go and have a look here, and you'll see each of the individual timestamps in case only one of the particular sections should interest you. Right now, though, it's time to go over the kit of Nox. Nox's passive is called Flame of the Night. Nox's candle gather energy from all abilities that she uses. For each ability Nox casts, a candle will be lit. For every candle lit, Nox will gain 3% magical power. When Nox takes damage from an enemy god, one of her candles is blown out. This has been changed over a long period of time. It used to be a case that this would go out with minions, then they changed it to 5 minions. I do not believe it's still cast with 5 minions, but it basically just means Nox has access to 12% additional magical damage permanently, provided she doesn't get hit by anything. So Nox can be in the backline, just there throwing out stuff. And 12% doesn't sound like a lot, but bearing in mind that Rodatahuti also, like, Rodatahuti just synergizes with this out the wazoo. Like, you have 12 additional percent and then also 25 additional percent, and these numbers just go absolutely bizarre insane. So I will show you as well what you see here as I use each of the abilities. So her one is called Shadow Lock. Nox extends her shadow, rooting and crippling a single enemy god in place and dealing damage to them over time. Nox must channel this ability to maintain hold on the target, but may cancel this ability early. While she is channeling this ability, Nox will suffer no directional movement penalty. Now, there's a really important thing on this. This, while it does have this, it breaks if you go too far apart. You basically have 70 units to stay in range of. However, as you can see here, we do have a Flame of the Night, and though Bancroft's Talon has 100 magical power, I have 103. Guess why? That's because of this, which, as you see, roots and cripples them in place. So they aren't moving. They cannot move at all unless they beat. So because of that, even if she does nothing else and just hits that, that can be fantastic in terms of peel for not only herself but others. It's like, hey, stop chasing my target. Get off of them. Bakasura, Kali, any Alquan, Thanatos, whatever. You got a jungler trying to beat down someone? Pfft, nah. What's that? Thor, you wanna use your stuff? No. How about that? What's that? You know, just you stop them. You just straight up you stop them. What's that? You've got a Sun Wukong who wants to try and get into the backline? Nah, we're just gonna shadow lock them. What's that? We have the enemy support trying to engage on us? Shadow lock. We're just gonna stop you moving. And it's very strong. And that's only her first ability. A root and cripple with a dot as well, which is really, really strong. It lasts for 2 seconds as well. You have a 2-second root and cripple. That's great. So as you can see already, you see why she's so controlling. And you see, look at that. Unfortunately, this line does nothing. That line that you saw, there's no damage if you move it through people, which I thought would be pretty cool, but they haven't done that. There's nothing like that. It just straight up does nothing. So it only hits one person, and if you miss it, you are kind of up shit creek without a paddle. But that's fine. Nox's 2 is called Siphon Darkness. Nox creates a void of darkness that silences all enemies within. After a short duration of 2 seconds, it explodes, dealing damage. In terms of the scalings, that's 100% scaling on her 2, and Shadow Lock ticks 4 times, and that's not a nice number, so let me just, that doesn't make it a nicer number, not really. Crap, how do I make that a nice looking number? That's 4 times, so that's about, I think that's 90% scaling. So 90% scaling, that's pretty good. So she's 100 and something percent scaling on her abilities. That's her 1 and her 2. That is pretty damn good, if I do say so myself. Now, imagine if someone was inside Siphon Darkness, and then while they were inside Siphon Darkness, so in Siphon Darkness, in this entire area, you are silenced permanently throughout the whole thing. There's no DR on this, it's just a silence. It's so this could be a 2-second silence. That's pretty good. Now what happens if we do this? So obviously these Odin bots don't move, but you can walk out of that. Rooted and crippled and silenced at the same time. That's basically a stun, except you can sit there and watch it happen. That burns beads. If that does not burn beads, you have just dealt level 2. You've dealt, what? There's 4 times the, so 120, 210, plus near 200% scaling. Even in the early game. That will half hit someone. Easy. That will completely half hit someone. And also most likely set up for the kill. Because if you're in mid lane, then you'll most likely be with a jungler, and they'll be like, haha, I'm gonna wail on you with basic attacks or whatever. Doesn't matter. You know, they can't do anything. Or you force their beads. And early, you force their beads, which means when level 5 comes around, you know, they not have that CC immunity that they need. So, this is where I was talking about how Nox can be absolutely amazing if you can hit stuff. Haha, I did this and I hit this. Yeah, look at all that damage you took. Suck it. It doesn't quite have the same effect if you miss the one. It kind of sucks. Which is why you'll see a lot of the time people will wait for setup. You know, oh, I just got a Fafnir stun. Fuck it. Blah. Kill them. And not gonna lie, it works. Totally 100% understand it. If you have a 50% chance of hitting a shot or a 98% chance of hitting a shot, you take the 98% chance. It's just better, and also as well, it saves your mana, and it means that also as well, it gets your opponent in the headset of, every time I get stunned, Nox could drop something on me. I have to beat this. You know, I can't allow her to try and get in range, because if she slaps it slap bang in the middle of you, and you're still stunned, you're like, oh, I need to beat. They can still take the damage from it. Now, unfortunately, beading does break the, does break the Shadow Lock. The damage that it takes is not like Artemis Trap, where it's like a root and it's a dot. This is a channeled ability. It's, I believe, one of the only abilities that's technically channeled. I believe some dashes are considered that. For example, I would say Chiron. Chiron's, I would say, is channeled. I would say that, what is it? Chiron, Kerninos, and Kuzumbo, actually, I would say are other channeled abilities, but not in the same extent. But yes, that's some of her other stuff. Now, her 3 is called Shadow Step. Interesting fact, that art animation there is actually her old ultimate animation, which when a lot of people saw that, got terrified. No pun intended on the Night Terror there. But yes, Shadow Step. Nox dashes forward, dealing damage to all enemies. If she hits an allied god, she leaps into their shadows, traveling with them. When Nox exits the shadows, she deals damage again in an area around her. Nox may cancel this ability early to exit the shadow. You travel for 8 seconds. However, if you are in mid-air or banished or whatever, you will not pop out until after that. So for example, if you are in mid-air of, I believe, like a Leap or Athena ult or Thor ult or Apollo ult or whatever, or Ram ult, you're fine. Now, bearing in mind this does, I want to say 75% scaling. It looks like it's 75% scaling. It makes the most sense to be 75% scaling. I really wish I didn't have this bloody... Wait, what am I talking about? I can go and just use my abilities. Yeah, Shadow Step basically can do this damage twice. Because... Alright, just hit me. Hit me! Hit me! There we go. Oh, bugger. Now I'm... No, wait. Get off of me. Get off of me! I can show you the full combo, though. Look at that. Half health to raw? Yeah, that feels good. That feels really good. Oh, bollocks. And now I've gone on throwing it off again, but we'll see. Alright, it's about 70% scale. 70% scaling and, yeah, 80% scaling on the other thing. So, yeah, 70% scaling. That's, a lot. So, no, that's more than that. That's 75. That's 70. It's more than 70% scaling, but this ability, as I was saying, you can dash through people, but remember, you can come through and hit them again. So this ability can do twice this damage. This ability alone can do a base, what, that's 460 plus 140% scaling if someone on the other side catches you. That's impressive. That's scary. And as well, that is a dash that you have to just get out of the way. Just straight up. Oh no, let me get out of here. Whoop. So that's the dash. I believe I can show you what it looks like to go inside of someone. If I just make Ra my ally instead of my enemy, then as you can see, Ra's on my side now, so I can dash into his shadow. But that is amazing. And those 8 seconds, I believe your other abilities go on cooldown, so yeah. You can't use them, but you're technically banished here. That's pretty good. And there you can see. You will be able to tell if an enemy does have a Nox inside of them. They will be surrounded in this sort of ominous black shadow, which does look pretty cool. But yeah, that's the general idea. Now imagine, let's say you did that on a Thor ult. You can travel with Thor. Let's say you did that on a target like a Tyr who's going to blink, or an Athena who's coming in, or an Apollo, or whatever. Or let's just say that you're in the middle of a team fight and you can dash into someone. Dash through a bunch of enemies, right-click instantly, pop out. You've just dealt stupid damage to a bunch of people. Now you're also, most likely, you've just dashed into, say, the support. Now you pop out of the support. Once they, and now you popped out of the support, you drop your 2, you drop your 1, you have support from, you have the backup of your support, and you just created a silence field. Amazing. Amazing potential. And that's not even talking about the ultimate. Night Terror. Nox unleashes a vortex of, I thought it was a dank then, of dark energy that explodes on contact with an enemy god, dealing damage to all enemies in range of 20, and also applying a damage over time. Enemies hit with Night Terror are weakened and deal less damage for the duration. This is a 40% damage reduction in a 20 radius. This deals 400 burst damage plus 80% scaling. Not only that, it then ticks 5 times for what I'm assuming is 5%, so 25. So this is 100 and this is about 105, 110% scaling plus for that 600 base. Now, albeit this 600 base does apply over 5 seconds. It's that initial burst and then the trickle damage. But this ability can just be used in so many ways. Start of a team fight. You know they're going to have the stronger engage. You know that your team does not have the ability to fight them evenly. Alright then, well they've just engaged. Also, this thing has a freaking phenomenal range of 120. You're like, oh, okay, right, they're going to do a lot of damage. Hold on, I can get a backline shot to the, you know, the ADC or something. And whack, bomb. And you may hit multiple people. You may hit the mage as well with doing that. You know, there's a lot of different options that you can do. Not only that, this ability shortens its cooldown as you level it. It's so good. It's so good. I love that it does that. Because it means that later game in team fights, you're just like, oh, alright then. You know, let me just do it again. Bonk. As you can see, that's a scary thing. It moves bloody fast as well. But here's the thing. Here's the real big thing. Alright. And hi! You know, you can turn corners with that. and just hit people square in the face. You're CC immune, and if they try and take a square fight with you, they're doing 40% less damage and taking this tick already. That does so much goodness for you. This can be used to secure objectives as well, if you need it to, because it's a huge amount of burst. You can use it in so many beautiful ways. Absolutely love it. And it is always great to just charge that spirit bomb. I did it the other day. There was a Nox. It was in Clash. They were right at the very end of this. They were out there tier 1 tower, and I thought, they're about 800 health. This was late game. This was entirely. They had about 900 health. And I thought, you know what? I can hit that. And you've got to remember, this ability is very forgiving, because not only does it have that 120 range, but it also has this as a radius. You cannot get that close to it. If anyone is hit with that, in the 20 radius it explodes. Boof. That's just great. So not only is this ability forgiving, but it does a stupid amount of damage. Now it does stop on the first enemy god hit, so if the support just throws its face in front of you and you hit them, well, okay, you hit the support, which isn't great, but it's damage, it's damage, it's damage. You want to use this on either blowing up a kill, or more, you can use this mainly to blow up a kill. Not gonna lie, blowing up a kill is great, but think sort of like Thora. Oh, there's a couple of people grouped up. I can hit both of them. You can do that. If you can hit this onto the damage dealers, it's amazing early game for that. Again, still really just more for the secure, but it's amazing potential. So much. Do not just think of this like I'm a monster and say, ha, I've just got this big damage thing. I'm gonna dump it when I get some, you know, some CC on them. Yes, you can do that, but that's not all you have to do with that. I hope this has been a little bit more comprehensive for you guys. There may have been some areas that I've missed out. Let me know in the comment section if there is anything that I have missed out. But now that we have gone over the kit of Nox, it's time to go over a leveling guide. Alrighty then, so Nox. Now, you can play her in support if your name is Dardes. However, that being said, most of you are going to probably find her going to be sat in the mid lane. If you want to be spicy, you throw her in the jungle, because that's kind of fun, or if you're boring, you throw her in the solo lane because you just want to hit late game, and that's about it. Either way, you can do it. Not really a great ADC. She just doesn't quite have the clear potential for it. Support she does because she has a load of CC, but it's kind of the weird one where usually with Nox you're waiting for the CC to throw off a load of stuff. In Nox's case, you are the CC, so you have to get good at hitting those 1s and 2s. But level 1 in the mid lane, or any damage ring roll you need, you're going to pick up the 2. The reason you pick up the 2 is because this is your wave clear. Shadow Lock doesn't hit them, and yeah, you could get the dash, but A, it doesn't have as much scaling on it, and B, it doesn't have as much damage on it. Yes, it does have, or actually no, it doesn't even have a shorter cooldown or anything. It's just worse to get in every regard. So you get Siphon Darkness. Siphon Darkness now, a big, really important thing about her clear. Think of it like Scylla's, but you can't detonate it yourself. I can spam 2 as much as I want, but that's going to explode exactly 2 seconds later. I can't change that or stop that from happening. So you have to get good at planting this on minions. Nothing is more irritating than watching minions walk out. It sucks and it hurts and it makes you cry. It hurts so much to see. So get good. It's a big enough radius to be able to hit everything. You can hit everything, but you have to get good at aiming this. It's only just big enough to hit the whole wave, but for the love of gods, make sure you do. As otherwise, her already kind of mediocre-ish clear early gets kind of pooped on even more. It's only 90 damage. It's like absolute trash. That being said, as soon as you level it up, it gets amazing. Now, level 2, kind of depends, A, on what you're going up against, and B, what you're working with. If you have the setup potential, and you have early kill potential, getting Shadow Lock can be amazing. Because Shadow Lock means that you go to them, and you kill them, and you try and snowball it from there. Shadow Step, however, can be just as powerful and can offer you slightly more clear. Because what you do is you throw Siphon Darkness, and then you Shadow Step into the jungler, and then explode out of them. And that can be very efficient. Be careful if you do that, because you now don't have a dash. But you can still, remember, this does double the damage you see on it if you leap into someone and have hit someone on the way through and then on the AoE out. So 140 damage, that's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. That being said, 120 damage isn't bad. So it swings and roundabouts, absolute swings and roundabouts. If you have the setup for it and kill potential, let's say you're laning with or you've got a Thor or a Susanoo or a Saket, who's got Cobra's Kiss level 2, or who else would you have right now? I'm trying to think what other stuff you've got. You could have an Athena in the jungle, Naja in the jungle. He gets his sash, and you Siphon Darkness and Shadow Lock off of that. There's a lot of viable options there. So, you know, give it a try. Hell, you could even throw it with a Nemesis if she slows strong enough. I think they've changed her slow though, so that's a shame. But yes, either way, sorry, that's a side point. If you've got set up for it, you can go Shadow Lock. If not, Shadow Step and get some more clear. Personally, I will usually play it safe because I suck at aiming my Shadow Locks and will get Shadow Step. But player preference, honestly, I feel on this one. If you are going to get Shadow Step, try and use it to help with your clear. It's strong, it's viable, you can use it for clear, so do so. Level 3, it is tempting to get the next point in Shadow Lock, because then you do get your full combo, and I can understand that. However, you kind of really need more clear. You really need more clear. Again, there's nothing wrong with saying going for Shadow Lock. It's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. Shadow Lock says, I have more poke potential, I become more of a threat. The sooner I get my combo online, the sooner I kill people. Siphon Darkness says, well, the sooner I clear, the more I can poke. The more I can poke, the better off we are. It's 100% swings and roundabout. Either way, however you end up doing this, level 4, you are going to end up looking like this. You need Siphon Darkness. A, it's the punch on your combo, and B, it's your wave clear. So you kind of really need it. Level 5, you best bet your butt you are getting Night Terror. There's no reason not to. Level 6 and onwards, we're going to be grabbing Siphon Darkness as our priority because it's amazing, so we grab that. Now, level 8, you kind of do have a choice here, actually. You can hold a point and say, next level, level 9, I'm going to get Siphon Darkness and Night Terror. Or, if you're starting to mix up with the supports and you've got a little bit more synergy and you've got that CC to really work with and you feel like you're hitting a couple of them Shadow Locks, no one's going to stop you picking up a point in Shadow Lock and saying, you know what, I'm going to get that bonus 40 damage every time I hit a Shadow Lock. It's not the most, I'm not going to lie, it's not the most additional damage, but every little can help. And 40 additional damage isn't bad. And the reason I say 40 is because remember, even though the scenery increases by 10, it ticks 4 times. So 4 times 10 is 40. It's not just I'm reading the number there. You do get a bonus 40 damage, which isn't bad. Certainly not bad in the slightest. I wouldn't recommend going Shadow Step, because as important as Shadow Step is, and you're thinking, oh my god, I can get like an additional, what is that? An additional 80 damage on that. That's way better than an additional 40. Pfft, I'm leveling Shadow Step. That's your escape. I know I said about using it for clear, but I'm on about very early levels using it for clear. You don't need to use it all the time. You're not smitten, you know. But yeah, either way, perfectly fine to say I'm holding a point and getting Siphon Darkness and Night Terror. You hold a point and say Siphon Darkness, you know, I got a bonus 70 damage. That's great. But you do really want to keep Night Terror. Night Terror, you want to level as much as you can. So whatever you do, level 9, you are getting a point in your Night Terror. And level 10, whichever you will look something like this. If you got that additional point at level 9 on this in the 2, you'll get your Shadow Lock. If not, you'll finish off your Siphon Darkness here. So that's what it comes down to. Next up, we're going to want to level Shadow Lock as much as possible and get that every single chance we can. Because Night Terror's just hitting so much harder. It hits, what, You get an additional 25 damage on the tick and an additional 50. That's an additional 75 damage each time. And you lower the cooldown. Dead simple. Who cares about the additional damage? It's amazing, but who cares? Get that lower cooldown. It's amazing. Shadowlock can wait as far as I'm concerned for that. And now level 14, you'll do this. And now finally we do the same old, I may as well get the dash now, because, you know, I guess. But then we'll get the ult. And then finally, and there we have it, level 20. And that's what you'll look like. And the damage you do is not to be joked at. And smack. 370, 35, 35, 35, 35, 35. Alright, so that's 150, 165 plus 170. That's 500 and something without any real doing anything. You know, that's pretty good. I mean, yeah, there was pen getting mitigated from that, but who the hell cares, you know? Alright, so I had 144 mitigated plus 55, 140 mitigated plus 55. You know, that ain't bad. That's pretty good. That's really pretty damn good. But yeah, as I said, in terms of your combo is this. That's a lot of damage. And, yeah, as you can see, the initial damage of Siphon Darkness hits just as hard as Night Terror. That's pretty scary. Siphon Darkness hits for the same amount as the initial Night Terror. So, as important as Night Terror is, Siphon Darkness does the same. And it's on a 13-second cooldown. So yeah, you can use your dash offensively. Very offensively. It's 300 burst damage. That could do 600 burst damage. Like, no one's going to stop you dashing into someone and smacking them up a bit. If you do get caught out, like, you get jumped on by Circuit, do this and hide in your 2. Because if they want to fight you, they're going to be only doing it with basic attacks. And if they are that close to you, then you just say, "Hi, I'm going to Shadowlock you." And that's dirty. Either way, now that we've gone over the leveling guide and the kit explanation, it's time to go over the build for Nox. Alright, so starting off in the mid lane, there are a couple of schools of thought that you can go for here. The first school of thought is saying, I'll get Soulstone. This means I get a bit more damage and helps with my wave clear. That's pretty good. In doing that, that will be pretty helpful. Also, as well, gives me a little bit of sustain. That's pretty nice. Other option is Sands of Time. If you put your stuff on cooldown more, that means it comes back quicker. You still get the MP5, which is really nice, and you still get the same amount of power. Sands of Time is very, very good. The other option a lot of people are doing as well is they're also looking at other things like, for example, a Bomber's Mask. Bomber's Mask just says, hey, I just deal more damage to stuff, and I restore, you restore 10% additional health, but they've also upped the health on minions, so whatever. That barely changes much, but, you know, it's viable. The third option, and this is quite a fun one, and this is one that I mentioned, I believe, with Scylla, is you start with Soul Trap. 65 power and 125 mana is pretty damn good, and for this price, it is the most magical power you will get and sets you up for a 1,250 back for a Book of Thoth. Very, very, very big power spike early. And there is no reason to say that you shouldn't do this. It is a perfectly fine and viable strat. So I'm going to go over a couple of different options for builds here. They're all focused around similar ideas. Some of them slightly different to others. So if you really want to push hard your lane, Soul Trap, 1 health potion, 1 mana potion is fine. If you aren't looking to do that, other options are things like Sands of Time, Bomber's Mask is pretty good. That's fine. You could even go for the start of a tiny trinket. That's fine. You could go for Boots 1, but it's not really that great. You could go for Lost Artifact for a little bit more power. It's entirely up to you. Whatever you go for, unless you went for the Soul Trap start, you can grab yourself Pen Shoes. So I'm going to go through the first build, and that's going to be, you grab yourself Pen Shoes. So you grab this. Really nice, solid curving of power. Bit of penetration is fantastic. The next thing we are going to look at is we're going to look at a Bancroft's Talon. Bancroft's Talon is amazing. It's a lot of lifesteal, 15% lifesteal, I believe now. 100 magical power. And then up to 200. It's insane. So you get a really nice curve, and it also as well gives you some sustain. It's pretty nice in terms of health. Once you've done this, now this is as well also looking at the enemies you're fighting are very squishy. I will prefix that first because this is going for a high CDR build. The next thing we do is we grab ourselves a Spirit Desolation because it's 80 magical power, it's 20 penetration, so we have 30 pen, 10% cooldown, coupling that in with Sands of Time, we have another 10% cooldown, and we grab that. And the next thing we do is we grab a Chronos Pendant. What this does is this caps us out at that 40% CDR, whilst not meaning that we're just rushing CDR stuff. We're not getting like CDR boots and all that kind of jazz. We're just getting this. This gives us that magic CDR 40%. Which gives us Siphon Darkness on just under 8 seconds, which gives us our Shadow Lock on 6 seconds, Night Terror on 42 seconds in the late game, and Chronos Pendant, guys. Chronos Pendant, Chronos Pendant, Chronos Pendant. Chronos Pendant puts everything else on cooldown, and that feels amazing. So as you can see, if I just sort of throw this out, also the damage you do is pretty damn good as well. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, that feels so good. And again, just... That's a lot of damage. Shadow Lock hit for 142 per tick. That's a lot. Now, we sell off our Bumba's Mask. We keep Sands of Time as long as we can for the CDR on it, but we don't have to. The next thing we're looking at is getting ourselves... Again, sort of looking at this now. You have to look at which... what's happening right now. Are they getting too tanky for you to deal with? If the answer to that is yes, and they do start having some big magical defense items, you do need Obsidian Shard. And it does then force back your final item to be Rhoda Tahuti. The main benefit of this build is it's a lot of flat pen, which are very good for squishies, and it's a lot of control because you get a lot of CDR early, which means you can throw out that kit a lot, which can be very strong. You want to curve in that Gem of Isolation, that Bancroft's Talon, sorry, not Gem of Isolation, because this gives you a very nice power curve. Do not rush Chronos Pendant, please. It doesn't give you enough, and it just doesn't feel right. 4th item is where this item sort of fits quite nicely, or maybe even 6th, honestly. It's just there are other items that you feel like you need to get online first. But you can see... I kind of have a lot of magical power right now. So you watch this. That hit for over 1,000 damage. That hits for... Oh, that's a lot of damage. Okay. So yeah. That hurts a lot. That's pretty good. So, that's one viable path option. It's a little janky, and you have to hope that they don't get much protections. But it works. It's very, 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 very strong. So another option, as we said, was going for the Soul Trap. Soul Trap start means that most likely you are going to get your Booker Toff, and you're going to get that fully stacked. You're going to get that first, and then you're going to get your Pen Shoes. At this point, I still like to grab something like a Spirit of Desolation. My reason for still grabbing the Spirit of Desolation is because it's not bad. It's... very, very nice power curve. It's a bit of cooldown. It's a bit of penetration. And it feels very nice. If you don't want to head down this route, Bancroft's Talon is perfectly fine. However, I'm going to go ahead and say we get Spirit of Desolation or Obsidian Shard. Either way, you get one of the 2 pen options. I'll say Obsidian Shard for the absolute, like, bricking this answer. So you'll grab that. Now, 4th item... And we've seen a lot of mages, or mage players, or mid players, I should say, in the SPL, looking to Rhoda Tahuti 4th item. The reason we do this is because Rod, yes, is a huge power curve. Absolutely huge. But throwing it 6th item, yes, it costs a lot, but throwing it 6th item can break the back of a game on its own if you're there thinking, God, I just need 200 gold and I'll have my Roller Tahuti. Yes, they have Fire Giant and they're knocking on our doors, but we just need 200 gold, please. And that hurts so much to get. So getting it earlier means you get more of an impact with it. So grab that. Now after this, we can just grab, say, Spear of Desolation. And we can just grab a, say, Chronos Pendant. You know, there's nothing's wrong with saying grabbing a Chronos Pendant at this point. That's pretty good. You could grab a Soul Reaver if you wanted. But this build, the idea behind this, and you rush through this way, yes, you do still get that CDR. But the idea behind it is getting a very curved power and getting the most utility from it. We get Book of Thoth early because it's so much power and a big power spike early, which helps Nox in the early game where she's not strong at all. We move that into Obsidian Shard because we just want to get our pen through because we know 4th item is going to be Roller Tahuti. After that, we can just start working on 2 other items. If you want, you could shove in a Spear of the Magus. Spear of the Magus, you kind of stack that pretty well. You get 5 ticks on the ult, or 6 ticks of damage on the ult. Your 1 hits for 4 times. The only thing is it's not the greatest sort of thing that you could do. It's 15 flat pen, but you need to hit other stuff with it to be effective. Divine Ruin is there if you want it. No one's gonna say no. I would look in the popular tab, but it never works in jungle practice. So yeah, in terms of actives, beads are gonna be one of them because it's just good to have beads. That's an option. If you want to play really ballsy, you could grab a Blink Rune. That's an option for you. You could grab Blink Rune. Other things that may very well be in because they're changing the relics next patch, so I'm trying to remember a lot of them. Horrific Emblem, I guess, though you're more likely going to see that on the supports. Bracer, I guess, but it doesn't give you the 3-second cooldown as it does now on its base, so that's not great. Aegis is there if you wanted it. Blink Runes option if you want to go in. If you want to blink in to silence someone right up all up in their face, then you can do that. But I'm going to go with the Beads and Aegis option because that's just absolute bog standard, huge safety regards. And that's pretty much the builds with it. The idea is fairly simple. We do want some cooldown in there because it really helps just keeping our kit on a lower cooldown. If you wanted to go absolute nuts with cooldown, then by all means go for the other shoes. I don't like doing this. It feels like I drop too much out for it, but pen shoes are pretty good. So if you'll excuse me, I will just quickly go and stack up a Book of Thoth real quick. Alright then, so it doesn't look like we increased much, but you got to remember, Nox passive does increase it a fair amount. We actually have a very nice looking amount of stats because they're both almost even. I will point out some other situationally options. Ethereal Staff you can get if you feel that you're just, I don't know, you just don't feel super safe in these fights. You feel like you're just getting blown up a lot. Some would say that Gem of Isolation's an option, but honestly, it's only really going to be that effective on the ult. Oh no, after being silenced for 2 seconds and taking over 1,000 damage, I'm slowed for 25%. That's honestly not going to be their biggest worries. And the one, well, they're rooted and crippled for 2 seconds. They aren't going anywhere. Their movement speed is 0. It's 100% slow. And then 25% slow after this is not that great. But other things, Soul Reaver's always going to be an option that you can go for. And Ethereal Staff's an option if you want to go for it in terms of just saying, hey, there's a stupid large amount of their health gone. Like, actually, let me just go grab that Ethereal Staff. It's, it is technically more power than, I like it. What's it? But as you can see, it does do a bit of bonus damage. You know, that 10% isn't too bad, I guess, but is it 5% every 10 seconds? I don't forget. It's every 5% of their maximum health. It's not much, but you know, you can take it. You can take it. But yeah, that's some options with Nox. She's just fantastically fun, but please you have to just, as important as it is to make sure that you set up stuff off of CC, you have to get good at aiming it freehand. Because that takes a Nox from being amazing to fantastic. Pretty Prime is a perfect example of a guy who will play Nox and will always hit it off a setup. But he will aim for it even without. Because if he can instill that fear of, I can hit this without setup, that scares people. You can get people's beads by doing this and missing. If they are inside that circle when they hear that sound, they will just beads instinctively. Because it's that scary. And the amount of damage you do is just that. It's scary. This ability hits for over 1,000 damage. This ability hits for over 1,000 damage. And it's stupid long range. Oh no, they're about to try and get the fire giant. Bang. Strike. I mean, she's not the strongest for fire giant clear just because her 1 doesn't do anything. But, that being said, remember her 3 can stack through people. Which means, no, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And yeah, that's Nox in a nutshell. Stupid fun. I hope you guys have fun playing Nox. I know I sure as hell have for the past couple of days. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you thought in the comment section. Why is a fire giant ring so far up on her? It's like, okay, that's weird. Sorry, that's just distracted me there. That caught me off guard. Let me know in the comment section down below if there's anything in particular that I have missed, any tips, trips, or experiences that you have had with Nox. Remember, if you guys create this pool of knowledge here, this means that everyone gets better, and if everyone gets better, matchmaking feels better because there's less people being idiots in games, which makes everyone feel better, which can in turn make Smite feel less toxic, which is all good. Share your experiences. It's good. Either way, as I said, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and favorite for more, and to share this stuff so people know that it exists. You guys have been a fantastic audience, and we shall see you all next time.